the Beast Code Developer Conference. You guys might think that Linkin Park made that. It was actually JD Compton. So. All right, let's flash up the schedule of what we're gonna go over the next couple days here. So kicked it off, talking a little bit about Beast Code and some company updates there, doing a little Q&A. JQ and I, we're going to go through a Beast Core demo with you guys, talk a little bit about what's coming next. Mike Devlin might pop up here as well. Then we're going to take a break for a half hour. 11 o'clock, we're coming back. Tom Culpepper is going to talk about some updates going on with infrastructure and ops and how they affect dev processes here. We got lunch coming, and then afterwards we're going to do a plugin showcase. And we really want all of these to be very interactive. But thinking about the plugin showcase, Trace, Cassie, and Frank, they're going to talk about plugins that they've been building and some of the challenges that they ran into. But we'd love you guys to ask them questions about how that process went. Same thing with like me, JQ, and Devlin. Ask us about Beast Core. Ask us what things are good, what things suck. Ask us the hard questions, but ask Tom the hardest ones, please. Tomorrow will be more interactive. 2 tracks that are going on. The first one is all about building plugins. We now have the developer experience team that they're going to be leading this effort. They're going to walk you through some of the new documentation and tools that they've built. And Amanda's going to be there too to talk about our design system and the Forge componentry library. In parallel, so if you're a developer, that's probably where you want to be. In parallel, we're going to talk about more marketing, branding, things that are more customer centric. So if you're like a program manager, account executive, anyone that is forward facing with our customers, that's where you're going to want to be. And we're going to be looking for questions there about when I'm in front of a customer and I want to sell Beast Code things, not just Beast Core things, like Beast Code things as a solutions like company. What are the tools you wish you had? What's the PowerPoint, the flyer, the blurb that you wish that you could just copy paste and send to somebody? We want to hear from you guys. So dual track tomorrow. Those are kicking off at 9 o'clock. The plugin one will be remote. So you don't have to come down here. We figured you probably want to be at a desk if you're actually writing code and following along. The second one, marketing branding, will be here in the Experience Center. So with that, JQ and I are going to go through the Beast Core demo. We did come up with a new concept yesterday, the bicep cam. So if the demo goes wrong, we're going to go to the bicep cam, which will be JQ's biceps. So, right? Hope it goes wrong.
Subscribe to my OnlyFans.
So we're logged into Beast Core. Again, it is a web-based application. We're just running it through Google Chrome. First thing that you see is the platform selector. Super minor. I've always wanted to be able to click. I come in here and I start clicking on these workspaces to change it. And before you had to hit buttons. So again, super minor, but very appreciated that very easy to click through things. Also added a list view. So if you're an organization that has a ton of different workspaces, more than 3, probably 30 of them, this is the view for you. We are going to run through this demo using the B29. So we're loading in the B29. Fingers crossed.
I never said the strength was between the ears, buddy.
Online, they're saying it works on their machines.
It did. We just did the demo before everybody showed up, man.
All right. So now we're in Beast Core. We have another product, Large Scene Viewer, that we've stolen a lot of inspiration from. So we're going to bring that up a couple times while we're going through here. But one of the things that Large Scene Viewer had was they list out all the systems and load them in individually this way, and users really like that. So we used to have a toolbar, and those were so 2024, and we got rid of those. So now we have the 3D Viewer Settings plugin. JQ is going to go ahead and load in one of the systems. Other thing that Large Scene Viewer did was that it rendered things dynamically. So before, when you would load geometry, it would come up with a loading screen. You'd have no idea what was going on, loading bar for a long time. You'd swap to your Wi-Fi, log into VPN, and then you would get your 3D model. But now you can load them in, see what's loading in real time. We still have the same controls, WASD and the mouse to move around. So as it's loading, plane's pretty quick to load in, but if it was something bigger, you can actually fly around as components are coming in. We added touchscreen controls. So if you are on a tablet or a phone or just a laptop with touch, you can use all the standard gestures to move around. Also added this really dope gimbal at the bottom here. So you can click on any of the different axes to be able to see the different views, or you can just drag it around to move the entire scene. So just going over the user interface, I don't think it looked like this last year, but we had the app bar on the side here. So every one of these buttons is one of the plugins or the modular capabilities that you can load. Then we have the content pane here, which is typically like a mobile view of whatever web app it is that you're displaying. And then we have this full screen view in here. So we've added this drop down to the top where it says 3D viewer settings, and you can display any of the plugins in the content pane or in the full screen viewer. So we're going to run through kind of our typical demo. Oh yeah, and you can change the color from here too. Sorry, JQ. So when you have all the systems loaded in here, you can come back in. Before, these were all like statically loaded. Like Beast Code would say, these are the systems that you want, and these are the colors that you want with them. And as a user, you could never change those. So you can load things in here, change the color and the opacity like you could do before as well. But going to 3D viewer settings and doing the drop down, we can go into the details pane. So details pane is now a modular capability. And like before, as you click on different components in here, it pulls up the metadata that's associated with that. That metadata could be coming in through our editing tools, like through maybe we've uploaded a bunch of spreadsheets into it. It could be coming from product lifecycle management, like a Siemens Teamcenter, or just other homegrown apps that an organization might have. Because of that, because there's data coming from so many different places, we have a filter button at the top now. And so all of your data is watermarked. So if you were to use our editing tools, it's watermarked with Workspace. If it's coming from Teamcenter, you could watermark it as Teamcenter. And that's cool because, one, it might just be just a ton of information that you're scrolling through here. But you're probably going to look at like conflicting data, where maybe in one data source, you had a part number that was X. And then you got the part numbers from PLM, which may be the authoritative, and it was different. So being able to say, no, we trust data from this area, being able to filter on that and getting the data that you need. We have a lot of the same capabilities, so being able to pull up documents as well. And so just list any of the tech manuals, procedures, diagrams that are associated with it. We're going to pull up this oil system document. When you do that, you get the new action menu. For a document, not too many actions. You're going to see later when we click on a component that the list is full. And so before, you would right-click in the 3D viewer and get a menu of all the things that you could do. It was just becoming too populated, so we made the action menu. In this case, we'll just go ahead and open the document. This I was actually really excited about. Again, might be like super subtle, but being able to have two plugins side by side. So before, when you loaded Document Viewer, it took over the entire screen. So I could look at 3D models with data, or I could look at documents with data, or any other like combination, but it was full screen. And so now I could have a diagram here, a procedure that was step by step, and I could actually walk through it side by side with the 3D viewer or any of the other capabilities that we have. Also being able to resize it, because for the longest time, we captured it statically to about this length. You guys already know this, but we have a process where we go through any of the documents that have text. And so we'll look for combinations of text that match things that are in the workspace. And when we find those matches, we create hyperlinks. So like we got the oil cooler here. When we click on that guy, the action menu is going to come back up. And so this is where you can see we have a bunch of plugins that are loaded. And the plugin name is shown on the right side of what it is, and then the actions are on the left. You can also search if there's just too many things to scroll through. But even with the handful of plugins that we have loaded now, it's a pretty big list of things that you can do. And as a developer building a plugin, these are all called hints. So you can register plugin hints of things that you could do with components or documents. And Wargo's got some cool ideas with R&D to where it doesn't have to be so statically defined anymore. In our database, we were tracking components, documents, and that's it. We want to be able to make it generic. Maybe it's like sensor readings that we want to be able to have actions for. We'll go ahead and zoom to the oil cooler. Got to load it in first. There it is. And so that's the other thing. It's all the way in the back there. If you are clicking on something and registering an action, it'll actually load in the geometry or the data that's affiliated with it. Also behind it. But moving on, so we got them side by side. Using that expand button up top, you can throw the document viewer into the full screen mode. And now we got the 3D viewer over here. We're going to drop the plugins thing down again and pick details pane. And so I thought this was really cool because we've had a lot of customers in the past who are like, we don't have 3D models and we can't afford to build 3D of everything and then keep it all up to date. But we do have hundreds of thousands of documents. So being able to have that same capability where we can bring in all of your documentation, we can go through all the text and make links to things that are in the workspace. And then as you click through the components, being able to see all the details affiliated with that. But just showing that a lot of people think about B-Score and the things we do as I got a 3D model and the data around it, which is one of the core services we provide. But there are customers that don't have that type of info. So being able to do documents. When we talk about, we'll talk about it, but we have another customer who just has a map view in there. They do have some documents, but they don't have 3D. They don't really have documents traditionally like we do with some of our other customers. They want to look at map with data overlaid on that, and they're using B-Score for that use case. Then we'll jump to search. I always bash the old search. Sean Shelton's not here today. It's a lot funner when he is, but it used to be a card view before. You'd search for something like valves, and you'd only get like 9 results, even though there's like 9,000 valves in there. And none of those 9 cards would be like what you were actually looking for. So we've changed it now to where it's a table view. And when you search for valve, it looks across all of the data in B-Score, and anything that has the word valve in it ends up in this table. And then we added filters. So it's like when you're at Lowe's, Lowe's.com, and you're searching for fridges, and you want to filter on the colors or the style of doors or the size of the fridge. This looks at all the unique metadata that was searched upon here and allows you to filter that. So in this case, a lot of times we look at like maintenance type use cases, probably looking for like a part number. So we're going to filter down to a specific part number and we'll apply that. And this gets you down from searching for a valve, part number, and this was the relief valve that I was looking for. And if I hit ... brings up my action menu again, and then I can do things like zooming to it. And when you have the bigger table, you can click through and still see all the details pane, et cetera. The last thing we were going to show you, well, we got 2 things to show you. Last thing we're going to show you with the aircraft is our Cameo plugin. So we did a Cameo demo a couple of years ago, and it was in version 4 of the software, so 2 major versions ago. And to do that, we had to fork the source code, which made a new custom version of B-Score. And we would have to do that for every single new capability that we added. So with plugins, again, it's all modular. We've converted Cameo into a plugin where I have a settings plugin where I can choose the different diagrams that I'm looking for. When I hit the ... on here, it brings up the action menu. We're going to do select diagram component, and it's going to bring up our Cameo diagram. And it works just like our document viewer does, where we're linking things in Cameo models, which are functional behaviors of how things work, to all the data that's in the B-Score ecosystem. So as we click on things, bring up the action menu, and we can zoom to it. We're going to see, just like we did with all the other demos, the 3D viewer pops up over here, and you can zoom to it. There's the pump. So one more thing, stealing inspiration again from Large Scene Viewer. We're going to refresh the browser, and we're going to load the USS Never Sleeps this time. So much easier. Before, there was like a button over here that you had, this like small one that you had to hit. You always just wanted to click on it and just move it. So we're bringing in different use case. So typically you log in the B-Score. I want to select a few different systems that I want to render, and then I'm going to interact with them to pick information and see like part numbers and things that we were doing before. This use case is I don't really know what it is I'm looking for, or it wasn't predefined for me. So instead of going right into 3D Viewer and loading stuff, I'm going to start in search. And we're going to type in CW, could be chill water. This is a spaceship, so it's cryogenic cooling. And then we're going to filter down. So we're looking at like all the components that are in a specific system. And then we're going to filter on compartment name. We're going to pick pump room number 2 and apply that. And we have an actions button at the bottom. When we click on that guy, we can create a component group. So this allows you to dynamically create your own systems. So in this case, we've, again, searched for cryogenic cooling. I want to see the things that are in a specific compartment. It created our custom group for us. We renamed it, and I can load that in and visualize those results. And so it just gets to the use case of, in the past, we've known exactly what it is our users want to look at, so we've been able to define that. But as it becomes more of a generic platform and we're shoving all types of data in there, we don't necessarily know what they're going to look for. We want to come up with these generic capabilities so that they can query information in any different way and visualize it in a bunch of different ways. So that's all of like the front end cool stuff that we've been working on. Big focus for us over the last few months has been product maturity. And so there's a ton of stuff going on in the background that we want to talk through as well. I'm going to turn it over to JQ to discuss that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, JQ. And I don't think we introduced JQ. You guys all know him, but he's the program manager for B-Score. He's the guy keeping all the schedules on track and working with all the dev teams.
Theoretically.
Hypothetically, yeah.
Okay, so as Z was alluding to, we are in the throes of trying to mature all the products. I think it was back in February or March. I think it was Rick at one of our front office meetings or something like that. We were talking about the commercial applications for B-Score and how we're just not there yet. So this past quarter, the next quarter, is kind of like me, dry and boring. We're doing all the housekeeping stuff. And to Rick's point, that 3 months ago or so, we want to be able to support a customer who walks in with a checkbook today and says, give me your products, I want them right now. And we're not at the point where we can just, load it the next day. So product maturity. We are currently, trying to get all the products updated to the latest enterprise standards, get them up to a specific technical readiness level, TRL 6. We are, let me read my slides here, I guess. So the latest enterprise standards for plugin services discovery, next quarter is going to be logging standard. It's going to be broadcast action standard. That doesn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people, but it's making the products better. and more mature and more deployable in a quick turnaround fashion. Updating all the README documentation for all the products, that was done this past quarter. I think every team's already done with that, and it's already been pushed to Iron Bank. Iron Bank is the Platform One container hosting service where customers will theoretically go to pull down the images of BScore. Back in March, February, January, we had maybe 2 images up in Iron Bank. Now we're up to like 26. And not only that, but about 20 of them are accredited through Iron Bank. A lot of work by the dev teams, and hats off to them for getting those images pushed up. We're not done. We still have open findings on Iron Bank that we have to address. We have to get the pipelines established to continue pushing those updated images. As more things are done by the teams, we push a new image up to Iron Bank. So it's not a done thing, it's a work in progress, but it's a hell of a lot more mature than it was 6 months ago. So we'll continue to work on that. We've had a big effort this past quarter for reducing containers. So each plugin and each service, back when we did microservices, right, the concept was every microservice will have its own container, and before you know it, we're up to 43 containers. What does that mean? It means there's a lot more handshaking going on, deployments are a lot harder, and you're using a lot more resources. This past quarter, we reduced the number of service containers from 15 to 6. So instead of a component search service, a document search service, a workspace service, a platform service, whatever, it's all combined down into workspace service, workspace editor service to support the editing tools, file storage service, and aggregator service, and I think platform selector service. A couple more of those may be getting combined in the next quarter. I can't remember off the top of my head. But big story is we've reduced the number of containers. What does that mean? Fewer resources needed, easier deployments. The 3D viewer team, Magma 3D, and Ben Cooper's team did a great job this past month getting the 3D viewer containers from 5 to 1. So they had 5 individual plugins. Now it's just one container with all the functionality within it. So hats off to those folks. This quarter, I think my eyes were bigger than my stomach back in March. And so I said, we'll have all the viewer tools done TRL 6 by the end of the quarter, right? Of course, complications come up. Updating to the enterprise standards was a bigger lift than we thought it was going to be, and some other things that came along. So we're looking towards TRL 5, TRL 5 by about mid-July, I think. What does that mean? Architecture diagrams for each of the services and plugins, and performance envelopes, performance standards. My plugin will do this. Those have been identified in a lot of cases. So if you have your performance standards identified and your architecture diagram done and committed to your repo, technically or theoretically upon approval from Wargo and his group, then you're at TRL 5. Once those teams do any performance enhancements and they're meeting all their KPIs, performance indicators, then they're at TRL 6. So additionally, this next quarter, we're going to be adding those badges to the products in Iron Bank. So any customer that goes and looks at Iron Bank images, they can say, oh, they're at TRL 5, they're at TRL 6. So that's another thing that's coming. So product maturity. In addition to supporting near-term contractual goals for specific customers, fixing bugs, but the guiding principle this past quarter and the next quarter, with the exception of functionality we have to have for specific customers, we're not doing any new features right now. Let's take what we have, make it mature, get it deployed, and once we get into quarter 4, or maybe even quarter 1 of 2026, we'll start looking at new features. But let's get everything mature that we currently have and then move on from there. Near-term priorities. So like I was talking about, we're supporting a couple of different projects that have contracts with deadlines. So that's the caveat, right, for new functionality and new features. If there's something we owe to that customer for the MVP, then of course we're going to do that. And there's a couple of those nickels and dimes going on. Next quarter, we're going to be consolidating the editing tools. So right now you have geometry processor, component processor, document processor, config editor. We're going to combine those into a single plugin or a single container, sorry. Consolidating the viewer containers from 4 to 1. So we're going to do some more drastic container consolidation during this next quarter. We will get to TRL 6 by the end of quarter 3. That's my goal right now. Get to TRL 6 for all the viewer stuff. 3D viewer, document viewer, search, shell host, auth, all those things you need to support the viewer services or the viewer tools. And then TRL 5 by the end of the quarter for the editing tools. Still a lot more work to be done on the editing tools with the front end, with the back end, with the new workspace editor service. So TRL 5, hopefully by the end of quarter 3 is the goal. Logging and broadcast action enterprise standards, just when y'all thought y'all were done with standards in quarter 2, but wait, there's more. What's this going to do? It's going to standardize logging across all the services and plugins. Makes troubleshooting a lot easier, and it adds some more stuff that is helpful to developers as well. Broadcast action enterprise standards, don't shoot me, Wargo, but it's going to sort of revamp how the action menu works and how hints are supplied across the different plugins. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
Less is more.
I'm not a dev. So that's coming in the next quarter. Every team's going to have to do it. And we're going to be holding some planning sessions with the POs here over the next week or so. So Merry Christmas. You just heard it first. Adopting the standard security policies across all the products. This is a new project that Dr. Wargo came up with. And what does that do? It enforces the Beast Code baseline accreditation. Vulnerabilities, does all the scans, and so all the BCAS products are going to adopt that, and then magically, once they hit all their performance standards, they should just be TRL 6. That's simplifying it quite a bit, but and then publishing technical documentation repository for building plugins. We have customers that want to go not only deploy BeastCore, but they want to build their own custom plugins. Right now, the documentation needs to be more thorough and more robust so that people from other companies can go start from scratch, run a command line, start their own plugin, and successfully integrate with the BeastCore environment. So DevX team is going to be working hard and fast on providing that documentation to those external customers. And that's all I got to say about that. Questions?
Nailed it. Yeah, I mean, really just foot stomping. Like, it is about product maturity. Like, we have the features that people need today, plus more. It is difficult to deploy today, and we want it to be easy. We want someone to be able to get the software and get it set up same day, maybe same hour, maybe immediately, and be able to have your data in there and be able just to start working with it. We don't want it to be clunky at all. Again, going back to like company updates, like it goes back to I'm downloading an app on my phone. If it doesn't just work, I'm deleting it. It's gone. We want the same thing with BeastCore. We want it to be super freaking easy for people to use. And so that's why we're focusing on maturity. Thanks for your time, guys. We'll talk to you later.